wave of help, tutoring. And then if that don't work, then again, like I said, try to get your child's educational classification modified.
All right. All right, here's another question that I have for you. Let me see. All right, here we go. This is a kind of a selfish question, but this is also a popular question that's going on. So, in your opinion, should couples live together before marriage?
It depends on the relationship, because I do believe you need to know how a person lives before you marry them. So it depends on, like I said, the relationship. If you've been with a person for a lot of years, then maybe you could get married before y'all move in together because you probably know that person. But in these day and ages, people are living together without being married and having kids without being married. I'm not anti any of that, but sometimes you need to know how a person lives before you want to commit to a lifetime of living with them. You know, you don't know a person until you live with them. Like, you don't know a person fully until you live with them. A person could take a shower, put on perfume, put on cologne, dress nice, and come outside, and you would think that person is clean. But then when you get in their house, they're junky as fuck. and don't like to clean dishes, or don't like to wash clothes, or have roaches and rats and all that stuff. So to get to know someone, you have to actually live with them, and you can make a determination of that's what you want as a spouse.
So are you saying you should, or are you saying you should?
I'm saying, and for most cases, you should live together before you get married. I mean, I know it's not the religious answer, but and the only reason why I say that is because in today's day, people are getting relationships off of internet dating sites. People are getting married in the least amount of time than the normal time frame that it's normal used to. So if I'm saying by the old standards, if you knew someone for X amount of years and you've been in their house and y'all spent the night at each other's house and things like that, then you can get married and then move in together. But I'm saying for today's age, maybe you might have to live with a person before you marry them.
And do you think that, obviously, you've been married for how long now?
20 years.
All right, 20 years. So that's long enough for you to be. All right, so do you believe that to have a successful, everlasting relationship, you must get married? Or do you believe that some people don't need to get the marriage title?
That's not, I don't indulge in that, because everybody is different, and I'm not judgmental like that. Like, for me, I got married, it lasts, and I'm happy. And some people, I know people that's in the same in a relationship the same number of years as me that's not married, and they're still happy. So, because you can look at it from either side of the spectrum. You can say, oh, it's just a piece of paper and a ring. Or you could look at it and say, he don't want to be committed to her, or she don't want to be committed to him. So it's a dicey situation. I don't really get too caught up in that, because love supersedes everything. Love is the most powerful force in the universe.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting, because a lot of people are black and white when it comes to that. A lot of people are like, you know, you need to get married, and some people look down. Like even this younger generation, you know, sometimes people are forced to get married. You know, you're like, no, you need to get married. And then if you have a kid, like I know a girl right now who has a kid right now with the guy, and her main reason, like she wants to get married now. She didn't want to get married previously, but now that they're having a baby, they want to get married.
And that's their prerogative. Again, each situation is different.
Their
so
choice and not their
you cannot
influence. All right, you froze up. Yeah, you froze up. Huh?
What did you say?
No, I was saying, shouldn't it be their choice as opposed to their parents' influence?
Marriage is only about the two people. It should only be their choice. No one should be influential in anyone's marriage. That's a recipe for disaster.
Well, so you're not for, I know the Indian culture is pretty big on it, but they do like sometimes they're married, their wives are picked out for them. You know about that, right?
I know about that. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that.
Really?
No.
Are you serious?
What do you mean?
Like pre-planned marriage, like they do, you know, they your wife out.
I don't subscribe to that. I don't agree with that.
Wait, why not?
Because I believe in falling in love and being happy with and marrying someone you want to be with, not someone picked for you.
But that's really big in the Indian culture.
That's not my culture.
I think, because I worked with this company before. I was a director of sales of an IT company. It was like 500 Indian people there. I was the only American working there. And I went to several of their weddings, and most of the weddings, they didn't know, like the person would come from India. So they would tell me like, you know, the way they do it is actually pretty interesting. Like the parents, they do this background check. They check their parents. They check the financial situation. They do this whole background check. And it usually works out well.
That's in their culture, right? I have no idea about it. I can't comment on it. Only thing I can say to you is that would never work with me. I have to have a conversation. I'm very picky. I'm very fickle. I'm very like hands-on. You would have to know me for. I'm probably one of the hardest persons to ever get to deal with.
So have you ever set up a friend with a friend?
I'm not really big on that.
You've never hooked up your boy with one of your wife's girls or something like that?
I don't really do stuff like that. No.
Never?
I'm so consumed. Listen to me. I'm so consumed with my marriage and my kids that I don't really have time for other people's relationships and shenanigans. Like, I don't want to hook a guy up with one of my white friends and then it don't work out and then they're calling complaining to me. I just don't have time for that. Like grown-ups do grown-ups things. If a guy wants to meet one of her friends, he has to ask her on his own. Like, that's so high school. Like, I'm 42 years old. I don't live that type of life.
And so you obviously don't believe in online dating either.
It's not about if I believe it or not. That's just not my situation.
I mean, how do you?
I believe it because
How do you feel?
Listen. I believe it because I see it.
How do you
I see a lot of people meeting up. I have no issues with it. I have no issues with love. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Real love supersedes everything. I have no issue with how you find love. No one should have an issue with how people find love. That's for the two people to identify with, not no one else. I don't like to get caught up in other people's relationship.
Okay. It's very interesting to many.
I'll give advice. I'll listen, but that's as far as it goes. I never stick my nose in nobody's relationship without them coming to talk to me. I mind my business. If more people mind their business, more relationships will work.
What's the best relationship advice you will give? Since you say you would give some advice, what's a piece of relationship advice that's universal, that'll work for everyone, whether you're married or not?
The best relationship advice I will give somebody is the person that you want to be with, you're going to have to learn how to be vulnerable around them. If you're in love with someone, if you're married to someone and you want to be with someone, they have to be able to make you cry, make you smile, know what ticks you off, know what buttons to push, know how to console you, know how to hold you, know how to give you advice when you need it, know how to spark a fire under your ass when you need it. The best advice is vulnerability in a relationship. Because if you have a wall up with someone that you proclaim to love, that wall is going to block your relationship.
What's an example?
Because hold on, you're not being yourself because you got this wall up and you have this thing about you that you don't want to let the person into who you really are as a person. So now you're being someone else. So that person is not falling in love with you.
You see that a lot.
It's just, yes, I see it a lot. And like I said, I talk to a lot of people about relationships and their marriages or their boyfriends and girlfriends. I mean, I've been with my wife for 25 years. I've been married for 20 years. So people are going to come and ask me questions. So I see a lot of that, like this false bravado, especially in men, that they put up with their women and then they wonder why it doesn't work. Because I'm saying, and I tell them, you want her to be in love with someone that you're not, and you're confusing her. Because if the woman really loves you, she's going to see who you really are. But if you're not giving that to her, that creates anger. That creates confusion. That creates instability. So, again, if you can take down your vulnerability and give it to the person that you so-called want to be with for the rest of your life, you have to trust that they will handle it with care.
Now, do you...
So the only way a real relationship can last is if everything is transparent about each other.
How early in a relationship should you give that vulnerability?
That's
from the
a feeling. That's a feeling. You give that up when you feel like the trust is there and you feel like they will not use that against you or they will not use it to hurt you. That's a feeling. There's no time limit on that feeling.
And that was
There's no time limit on love.
That was good. So how do you feel about relationship counseling and couples therapy and stuff like that?
I mean, like I just told you, I speak to a lot of people about relationships. So counseling in general is good. And in my older years, I'm starting to understand that because, again, in the Black community, counseling is taboo. People think that if you get counseling, you're retarded or you're crazy, and that's far from the truth. Counseling is a mechanism to teach you how to deal with things you can't control or that you can't deal with. So all it is a tool to use when something that's going on in your life that you can't handle. And